one thing, and I don't usually do this.
Do it.
So until you're willing to run for office, don't tell me you're staying in California to save it.
I don't want to abandon my city. I want to fight to make it better.
I don't think that's possible. I don't.
It is. I think it is.
You won't even run for office. So how dare you? No. How?
Jillian.
No, I asked you specifically.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're like, I don't want to deal with it. I'm not fucking fighting for
There's
it.
no
I'm
way
out.
in hell.
Wow. Okay. Well, that went to really quickly.
He is one of the most controversial figures online.
You don't know my situation. I don't think you're in a position to give me advice, especially as a woman, honestly. I don't think women, this is something in the right wing. We say we're anti-feminist. You're going to call me gay, and then you're going to go, oh, like, really?
I hate this. I know how important this is to litigate.
Nick Fuentes, he's like, no, it's not just Israel. He says it's the Jews.
He does actually make astute points about the way that our government has been hijacked by Israel.
Netanyahu says he's on a historic and spiritual mission, also feels a connection to vision of greater Israel.
All of Congress has been
that's
in
why it's not a
Israel
partisan
in
issue for me
recent times.
at
What's
all.
with that?
By the way, this is totally bizarre, but I got an invitation to go to Israel on a junket. They offered to bring me and my guest, all expenses paid.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, guys, welcome to Her Take. Before we get started, please subscribe, click that bell notification. It helps us out a ton with the algorithm. Got an awesome show for you today. So we're tackling a mix of breaking news, political controversy, and cultural trends. I guess Nick Fuentes is suddenly throwing shade at Tucker and Candace, which is inherently going to lead us to an Israel update, Netanyahu's greater Israel admission, Epstein leak theories, and a possible Maxwell release deal. Terrifying. A comedy culture shift, why Rogan's comedian friends are souring on the Austin scene. Then mankeeping and emotional labor. Women are complaining about the growing burden of handling their men's emotional and social needs, plus a new doxing app is making waves. Climate intervention, a quiet government-backed test to dim sunlight, and why researchers didn't want the public to know. So first up, Nick Fuentes is in a public feud with Tucker and Candace. It began after a tense on-air interview with Owens spilled into personal insults off-air. Carlson weighed in by mocking Fuentes. Fuentes fired back by accusing Carlson of being CIA across social media, blending personal attacks with personal criticism. Amy, what is going on with this?
Yeah, so let's go through and really look at each of those different occurrences that you just mentioned. Nick Fuentes, before we get into all of those, let's just frame, who this guy is and what is going on right now. Because he is one of the most controversial figures online. It was the case that even a year or so ago, you had to literally put asterisks in his name if you wanted to mention it in your YouTube video, otherwise you would be demonetized. He is banned from the platform itself. Yet recently, we were talking about it, I've seen him in clips everywhere.
Yeah, all over YouTube, yeah.
Right now, CNN has even aired some of his clips because it fit their narrative at the time when he was criticizing Trump. He's kind of a walking contradiction because he's branded America first, but he's actually hated by a lot of the MAGA base. He is a devout Catholic, known for saying the N-word very frequently, the main reason why PBD actually won't have him on the podcast, and denying the Holocaust. So this is a very interesting character. He has some very, very extreme
the
beliefs.
Holocaust completely.
Not completely, the numbers.
He says that 6 million didn't die, correct?
Correct. That is.
But he doesn't deny that it happened?
Hold on, he uses the N-word. That's like...
Very frequently.
Yeah.
PBD,
Wow.
It's funny, PBD,
I haven't even heard of this guy.
Someone asked PBD at Turning Point USA if they would have him on the podcast, and PBD was like, have some respect. I want to have people on who can display respect, and he uses that word way too frequently.
Wow.
Word got back to Nick, and his reaction was actually really funny. He was like, that's ridiculous. And then he instantly disagreed with himself, and he's like, but he's right. Okay, yeah, I should stop using it. And then he tried, but... old habits die hard. He started using it.
He's pretty open about his anti-Semitism and racism.
Exactly.
He doesn't try to hide it. He puts it on full display.
Exactly. And that's why it was so interesting when he made the conscious choice to go on Candace's show, and why people were surprised that she even had him on, because he has been very vocal about his opinions on women as well as people of color. So what we can do, what really started this all before she went on Tucker, she had Nick on. We're going to play probably one of the most contentious clips from that segment where she says to Nick, you talk about traditional values, all of these things. Where's your wife? Where's your family? And that's what kind of kicked this all off.
How old is this kid?
He's 26 years old.
Okay. Well.
I also think there's something selfless involved, which is to say, I could go and start a family and drag them into a world of mine, which is pretty chaotic. You know, I mean, is this really the kind of a lifestyle? If I'm banned on everything and I can't make a living, I'm banned from banking, I'm banned from credit card processing, I'm getting doxxed, people are showing up to my house trying to kill me, things like that. And what's more, I mean, let's also get, you know, I also don't appreciate the lecture. You don't know me, you know, so I know you're married, I know you're older than me, but you don't know me, you don't know my life, you don't know my situation. I don't think you're in a position to give me advice, especially as a woman, honestly. I don't think women, you know, this is something in the right wing, we say we're anti-feminist, and then women go around telling men what to do. We're not their husbands. And, you know, I don't really buy into that ideologically, but that's besides the point. You know, my life has been tumultuous from the very beginning. From the time I turned 18, people were coming for my neck and trying to get me, and I was kicked out of college. And then, you know, once you're branded as an anti-Semite, before it became cool or popular, can't get a job, can't make a living, get banned from PayPal, all this kind of stuff. You know, that's a very difficult environment to try to have a dating life. You know, what do? I go out on Tinder, I go to a bar, and I say, hey, I'm a neo-Nazi Nick Fuentes that the ADL is writing articles about every day. I'm going to start a dating profile on Tinder.
All right, I
People are gonna
think we
screenshot that, mess with me in all
can,
kinds of ways. It's a very difficult.
we can cut it there. So, I mean, everything he's saying is true, guys. He has been debanked. He has been deplatformed. At one point, he was on a no-fly list. And this all started with a feud that he actually had with Jeremy Boring and Ben Shapiro from the Daily Wire. He was working with them way back in the day. We know their position on Israel. And then when he started voicing certain opinions, the cancellation campaign emerged. Now, let me preface by saying this. Nick, Ana believes that he's a genuine anti-Semite.
He says he is.
Does he say?
Yeah,
Here's
right,
what
okay,
it is.
let me
There's
hold on
no
real quick.
chance. It's like he's. I'm not familiar with that.
I don't watch his content.
I don't either.
So I
I've
wanted
never
to
heard of
make
him.
sure that I didn't smear him, even though I had my suspicions about who he really is. So I watched a bunch of his recent content, and the point of contention between him, Tucker Carlson, and Candace Owens. Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens on one side, Nick is on the other, right? So Tucker and Candace have been very critical of Israel and Zionism, whereas Nick Fuentes, and this is what he said on a recent episode of his show, he's like, no, it's not just Israel, he says it's the Jews, right? So that's how he differentiates himself. So he's openly, you know,
makes no bones about it.
he doesn't really make bones about it.
So I disagree. I disagree with that in its entirety. What I can say about him is he does actually make astute points about the way that our government has been hijacked by Israel. He says a lot of things that are BS. He also makes good points. And one thing that I want to just offer out there is I think that this is a man who is incredibly jaded, who he feels like he had his life ripped from him for voicing genuine opinions in the beginning. And then when the exact people who he was trying to not speak about those people, but speak about the agenda in general, when the people involved in that agenda double down to destroy his life, to deplatform him, to debank him, to do all of these things, I would have a little chip on my shoulder as well. It doesn't justify it.
Yeah, Amy, I'm curious. You mentioned all these things. How does he make a living? Who is funding this?
So he has his own, he was doing some stuff on Cozy TV. He was recently reinstated on X by Elon Musk. He also has a Rumble account. So he makes money through his content, but just not through the typical channels. He's banned on YouTube. He's banned on all of these various things.
So look, Amy, I hear what you're saying, because in the middle of some pretty reprehensible, disgusting stuff that he says about Jewish people, which I do not agree with at all. You know, he makes commentary that I do agree with and is actually spot on in regard to foreign influence of our politicians. However, the good points, in my view, get muddled through hateful rhetoric. And for me, it's really, really important to draw a distinction, because there is no problem with Jewish people at all, period. When we're being critical of Israel, we're being critical of
the country,
a political ideology of the government. And I don't want that to be conflated with hatred toward Jewish people.
It definitely is, though. And that's why people have to be so careful with that narrative.
That's what I'm saying. You do have to be careful.
That's happening. I'm still can't get over the fact that the guy used the N-word. Is there... Did he actually say this, or
many times? Many,
just casually.
many
in like what
times.
Context?
I mean, just recently. So one of his black supporters wrote and said, "Hey, brother Nick, like blah blah blah," and then he started saying sorry, PBD, I have to say it. I'm the real N-word. Someone needs to show these people who the real
hold on.
N-word is.
So just for context, just so I understand it, he's not calling a black person the N-word. He's trying to appropriate the culture.
I wouldn't say appropriate the culture, but he's using hyperbole. He knows that it gets views, it pisses people off, it inflames emotions.
I'm not saying this is better, but there is a huge difference between calling a black person an N-word.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. That's not what he's doing.
Like, there was a time when white people used to constantly be like, yo, my N-I-G-G-A. Yeah. And I remember a lot, it was like the cool thing to do, because like...
When?
I mean, Mama, always.
Really?
GGA.
Well,
yeah.
Well, what's
like, it was like my homie, my brother, my friend is what it meant. And I was like, the day's coming where this is going to be a problem.
Back in the early...
No, it was a whole thing. It wasn't meant to be a bad thing, but nevertheless, I was like,
listen, back in Australia, I could rap Busta Rhymes' whole section off by heart, and then I moved to America and learned I'm not allowed to do that here. So
you used to be. You did used to be.
Back in the early 10s, we remember N in Paris, the Kanye song.
Yes.
I'm not trying to say that this is right or wrong. I just needed clarity from my sanity if he was actually calling people the N-word.
Gotcha.
Like, because
he's dead. Look, I mean, you're right, Amy. He says things that are going to attract a lot of negative attention. He does it intentionally, and he can't be surprised when he gets negative attention, and there are consequences to it. I don't agree with someone being debanked. You literally destroy someone's life, even if they have disgusting, bigoted, racist views. I think it has to be something very extreme, like, I don't know, engaging in like
terrorism or
something.
Well, they did it to Trump.
But hold on real quick. We got to stay on topic because this is about the feud.
Let's get into the next video, 100%. So Connor, let's queue up. So after this instance, Nick and Candace were beefing back and forth on X. She wanted to challenge him to a rematch. There were various things that were said, but let's just jump into this video where she joins Tucker Carlson, and this is really what escalated the feud.
The only reason I know who he is because someone sent me a video a few years ago of him attacking me, and I was like, so I'm looking at this, and I'm like, well, first of all, this kid's really talented, like legit, and I can assess that just having done the job for so long. So I was like, wow, lots of talent, native talent. And he's attacking my dad as a CIA, his dad's in the CIA or whatever, and I'm like, well, that's no, untrue. Then my father dies, and I learn, actually, was involved in that world. I was completely shocked by it. So no one has to believe me, but that's just a fact.
Right.
This was in March of this year. And I'm like, well, how the hell would this child from Chicago, my dad was 84 when he passed. Like, who does this guy know who my dad is? And like, he's in intelligence. How would he know that?
Yeah, so then Candace goes on to say, if it makes you feel any better, he accused me of being a Russian asset. And then what Tucker says, I find this a little bit odd. I believe in Tucker's integrity. I think he's a genuine person. He genuinely loves this country. I did find the comment a little bit odd, though. I don't know if you can find it to pull up later, Connor, where he says, well, you would be more likely to be a Russian asset than I would be likely to be in the CIA because I really hate the CIA, which I feel like was a little bit of a low blow to Candace.
But then he says something that really ruffled Nick Fuentes' feathers, and it's this.
Yes, let's go ahead and play that one, please.
Either A, it's being driven from like a little boy insecurity, and he just was so worried that he just went on the attack because he doesn't know how to have normal relations after being banned everywhere.
Well, I think there's
that could be one element.
The angry gay kid thing going on. Yeah.
The angry gay kid thing. So that really upset him, and then Nick goes nuclear.
No, Nick is a devout Catholic, so he believes he's strongly against like homosexuality. He believes in like.
Why would he say "ang guy," Jillian?
But
I hate this. I know how important this is to litigate, but like I genuinely cannot stand this kind of like.
A lot of people think he is gay.
Like gossip, weird.
It is a rumor mill.
Well, he once said that it was gay for men to be in like relationships with women. Like he had this weird spiel about like.
I think it was like cohabitating with your wife. I think. Plus, I'm not.
But anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't care if he's gay or not. But like that really set him off.
100%.
And then he goes nuclear on Tucker specifically.
Exactly.
And Tucker gets caught in a lie.
So what happened though? They're basically, aside from the little gay kid comment, they also accuse him of being a Fed as well. Like, how would Nick have known? How would he have been privy to this information about my father before I even knew? He must have some type of ties to intelligence. So that's kind of the logic that Tucker is using, plus the fact that, and this is something that Milo Yiannopoulos shared, but Nick was at the Capitol January 6th. He was, speaking, riling people up, and no charges against him. So that's also something that they are leveraging to say that Nick could be a Fed. Now, for me, before we get into the next video, that seems highly unlikely. Why would they de-platform, debank, like, somebody who is on their team?
I don't think Nick Fuentes is
Me either. But then he slaps back at Tucker Carlson and in what he calls an all-out expose, a very long stream where he essentially accuses Tucker of being a neocon, a Fed, and for having full knowledge that his father was actually involved with intelligence. So he's basically, at this point, it's like the Spider-Man meme where everyone's pointing to each other and it's like, you're a Fed, you're a Fed, you're a Fed.
Although Fuentes brought receipts and Tucker Carlson did get caught in a lie. So,
he did, yes.
Something is going on. I never follow this guy's content, but he's suddenly all over my X feed. I've never seen.
That's what I'm telling you guys. It's blowing up in the national conversation. So let's go ahead and play this next clip, please.
Between me and Tucker, one of us is going to call the other gay. I mean, really? Like, let's just stop with the pretense.
I don't get what that means.
Tucker's me and Tucker, I don't think either of us are the epitome of, like, macho alpha males. You're going to call me gay, and then you're going to go, oh, like, really?
It's pretty funny.
Yeah, that is good.
That's good. Daddy's boy Tucker with the girls laugh.
Feud?
I don't
You're
think it is,
calling me
'cause
gay?
really,
I don't think any of us really have a leg to stand out on that one.
He's actually doing damage to Tucker, like significant damage.
Do you have that clip where he talks about the CIA ties more specifically?
Yes.
Here's what I don't understand. Why is this blowing up in the national conversation? What are we meant to take away from this?
Well, really, there's like now this, I actually think that it's disturbing because I do see Nick Fuentes as different from Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson used to be a neocon, and he's been remorseful about that.
He has been.
Absolutely remorseful about that. And so he is not anti-Semitic. He has not said anything negative about Jewish people, but he is critical of Israel's government. Nick Tucker, yeah.
With you.
And Candace kind of falls in that camp, although she said some stuff in the past. Anyway, putting that aside. Then with Nick, and he has said this recently, what sets me apart from Tucker and Candace is I blame the Jews, right? And so that's like it's almost like a competition, and I'm worried because
it's a race
Nick
to the bottom.
did catch Tucker Carlson in a lie. It turns out he actually did know about his father.
Yeah, I
being
saw
in
the
intelligence.
montage of all the clips.
Like a year ago, he was talking about it on the Sean Ryan show. We're going to show the clip in just a minute. And since he got caught in that lie, now a bunch of people in Tucker's audience have turned on him. They think he's CIA, and that has increased the popularity of Nick Fuentes.
As we can see evidenced by this.
I'm with you.
Let's pull this up right now. We can see that Nick's response video to Tucker and Candace, two of some of the biggest names in conservative media, like it outperformed their segment by nearly double.
Yeah.
So this guy is catching a lot of attention right now. One thing I just want to mention is that Nick has been talking about this stuff long before it became acceptable and cool. He was questioning
what's acceptable and cool.
Well,
let's carefully.
Yeah, and I don't mean cool in the literal sense. I mean,
cool?
it's trendy right now for people to be critical of Israel. People are seeing it. We have a gang mentality, a herd mentality. People need to see that it's okay to talk about something, question something, before they start injecting their own opinions.
I think it's really interesting that Tucker isn't just getting it from Nick. He's getting it from people like Laura Loomer, who's accusing Tucker, I think, baselessly, with all respect, of being a Qatari agent.
Well, okay, here's the thing. Laura Loomer is a neocon, even though she purports not to be, or is in favor of neocons at least. She claims she's against them and is like purging Trump's administration of them. That is not true. And out of the two, in terms of who would be taken seriously in terms of criticism of the Israeli government, obviously Tucker Carlson has more credibility because he doesn't just wrap it into, oh, it's the Jews. He's being critical of, he's being precise and critical of the government.
I think that's precisely why people are coming after
That's
him.
Yes, exactly. So
well,
I'm like,
I think it's good for me to say it too, because I also just want to say something. Anna, you and I have butted heads over Israel in the past. I mean, we've been doing this show for a number of months now. Again, I'm actually famously known for changing my mind. My mind has changed even since the first episode of this show.
I think a lot of people
on which issue?
On Israel.
Okay.
On what
I do want to say, I
Gaza.
feel like it's important for this to be said, though, because the stakes are so high. And I want to give you credit. And the situation has only solidified your perspective. At the start of the show, I was willing to give Israel some benefit of the doubt. I just was. But I also want to be clear, this has nothing to do. In fact, you know, Israelis are protesting against Bibi Netanyahu. My problem was with his regime and the two far right.
I almost wish we could say his party, because his
party is a huge problem.
I have to admit,
huge problem.
You guys bring up things that are alarming, so it's like it's trendy to bash Israel, and you're seeing it play out in hate crimes, and then it transcends into then the Jews
Right.
and.
It's not I'm not saying that as an endorsement of what's happening.
No,
it's an astute observation.
I know you're not.
We can see the anti-Semitic rhetoric increasing as well as legitimate
It's
criticism simultaneously.
Dangerous.
And the issue with Nick is his message gets so watered down and discredited by lumping in all of that rhetoric. You know, no one's going to take him seriously.
And so I don't want legitimate voices on the right to be destroyed because look, can we play the video of like the Tucker lie? Like, I don't know what's going on with that. I don't think Tucker Carlson is CIA.
Sean Ryan, if we could find that one, please. But so here's what I want to ask. Do you guys think that it could be a possibility that it has nothing to do with Tucker being CIA? Maybe he knew about his dad, but he was just aware of PR, public perception, how that would look.
He hates the CIA.
And that is the
reason
reason why
he felt shame about it. Honestly.
Okay.
I think he felt shame about it. Because when he was interviewed on the Sean Ryan show and he was like asked, or he talked about his father, he didn't say my father is in or was in the CIA or is in the CIA. He says he did some work with them, something along those lines.
Right.
Right?
He overdid it. Like, he overstated that.
Yeah, just like he did with Candace too. Like, that line was weird. It just felt off.
Yeah.
Tucker is such a genuine person. He has the most like genuine, joyous laugh I've ever heard. Genuine person.
I do like
So when
that
he's
laugh.
not being genuine, at least it feels that way. It's so obvious. And I was just like, that was a weird thing to say. That was a weird statement.
So Nick Fuentes thinks that what Tucker Carlson is essentially doing is this like mind game on conservative audiences to essentially help J.D. Vance, who Nick Fuentes believes is actually a puppet of the neocons.
Manchurian Candidate,
Yes,
Peter
which-
Thiel's spawn, like.
By the way, I think Nick's comments in regard to J.D. Vance's connections to Peter Thiel and Palantir. Peter Thiel is a huge Zionist, by the way. He's providing the Palantir surveillance and monitoring in Gaza. So anyway, like. It did make me question who J.D. Vance is.
Yes, and Nick does that. He makes people question things, but then when when he lumps in all of this terrible rhetoric at the same time, like you said, criticizing Jewish people, it discredits the narrative, and people aren't going to take him seriously.
I want to say one more thing, and this can beget as much anger and upset and controversy as you guys want to throw my way. But I asked Barry Weiss about Zionism, and she goes, "I am a Zionist. Being a Zionist simply means that you believe Israel is allowed to exist." She did not say that it means you wipe out Palestine.
That's what my roommate says too.
And I kind of want to be like
Barry Weiss also, on a regular basis, downplays what's happening to the Palestinian people. She has, through her publication, tried to throw cold water on the notion that Palestinians are being starved to death when there's a mountain of evidence proving that it's true. She is biased on that issue.
Okay.
And so, and by the way, CBS News, which is poised to buy the Free Press for $250 million.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah. By the way, I don't mind. I don't mind her being successful.
I like a female. I like that she left the New York Times.
But that's not why I'm bringing it up.
You're right. You're right. Go ahead.
I'm bringing it up because the incoming CEO of CBS, remember they merged. There was a big CBS merger. He's very open and honest about how he wants to buy the Free Press because of its pro-Israel bias.
What's his name? It's fine. I can.
I'm forgetting. Altman. Something Altman. Anyway, I'm forgetting his first name. Long story short, she is biased, and so I wouldn't really lean too heavily on her take on what's happening in Gaza.
No, not her take. The definition of that word is what I'm trying to sort of be very delicate with, because by
her reporting does not lead me to believe that she is serious in being honest about what's happening.
She was fair when she did my podcast, and she was very fair that Netanyahu was far from perfect. That
Netanyahu is a war criminal.
She was, in my opinion, she was fair. She was simply talking about how this begets anti-Semitism, what being a Zionist means. And that definition meant literally Israel has a right to exist, not to wipe out Palestine. So I just... Okay, I'm certainly no expert in this, and I want to stay away from it because the minute I feel like
Jillian, honestly, I think I'm the closest to you to your point of view on this panel. I do want to say that that's her particular definition of Zionism, because there are a lot of people who have a much more belligerent understanding of Zionism, and I just think it's so tragic because some of the strongest advocates for Netanyahu finally leaving the stage happen to be Jewish. And they get lost.
Right. Well, and this is the same conversation, but this harkens way back a week ago to me saying there were also good white people that were trying to end slavery.
Yeah.
I know we need to move on.
This isn't about Jews.
And there are people
it's really important to remember that. This is not about Jews. Like, it's not about Jewish people. There's wonderful Jewish people all across the globe.
And that's right, because if we weaponize anti-Semitism as a term and as, you know, as a weapon to throw at anyone who dares to criticize Israel, you are muffling very warranted and substantiated criticism. Something like even in the past week, they killed an Al Jazeera reporter.
They killed 6 journalists in the same press. Yeah,
right. But that one, and they labeled him Hamas
without providing any evidence. Right.
And we're all waiting for it. Like,
and it's not just that. For the Likud party and for many Zionists within Israel, they want to expand.
Well, let's roll into Israel, actually. I know we do, but it's such an interesting conversation. I've been having a hesitancy to move it forward, but we're moving on to Israel. So this one actually has layers. Prime Minister Netanyahu has openly acknowledged his push for the Greater Israel Project. A Times of Israel blogger is floating the idea that the recent Epstein document leaks were actually punishment aimed at Israel, and now Ghislaine Maxwell is reportedly working a deal to get out of prison. So somebody unpack all of this for me as well.
Yeah, well, there was a blog written for the Times of Israel that basically mentions the Epstein files and implies that the threat of certain things coming out about Trump, being leaked about Trump, has encouraged him to go in a far more pro-Israel direction and not push back against Netanyahu. And honestly, you can see that through his actions. Like, there were some instances earlier where Trump was willing to push back against Netanyahu, including going into a full-out war with Iran or continuing to do strikes against the Houthis. But now Trump is very deferential to Benjamin Netanyahu, including Netanyahu's announcement that he intends to control and occupy the Gaza Strip. And in fact, let me just give you the details on that. This was, I believe, from the Times of Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that he feels very attached to the extremist vision of Greater Israel, a plan for the conquest of not just historic Palestine, but also parts of Egypt, Jordan, and potentially other countries. I mean, why do you think Israel keeps bombing its neighbors?
Wait, can we just...
Wait, hold on. Did he say that?
No, I'll tell you what he said.
Okay.
But the Greater Israel Project eventually encroaches on and steals land from those countries.
Guys,
that's what the ideology is. The Likud Charter specifically, and this has been the case, it celebrates and pursues from the river to the sea, the Greater Israel Project, right? Now, Palestinians got a lot of heat for saying or chanting from the river to the sea, but when it's literally in the charter for the Likud party, the prime minister is in the Likud party, no criticism for that, and now that charter is being put into action.
Guys,
and that's the
hold on.
Let
me get, I'm so sorry, Lindy, because you're telling me.
Yeah.
Wait. I've seen the Hamas charter, and it's like death to all Jews, and this and that and the other, and it's like, well, how do you negotiate with that kind of crazy? You're telling me literally that in the charter for Netanyahu's party, and forgive me for being ignorant, but somehow I managed to miss this, that it says from the river to the sea, meaning we're going to wipe out all of Palestine? Because
yes, definitely.
But I just please.
I mean,
again.
I
thought he said.
Guys, I have to plant a flag here because this just undermines everything about how Zionism is just the right to exist.
Well, wait,
this is like the Israeli
It's
definition of manifest destiny.
Yes.
This is manifest destiny, Middle East version.
Hold one more time. So what I saw him say, and maybe I missed it. Now, I did see him say, we're going to take over Palestine, but I heard him then go on to say to get rid of Hamas.
He's a liar. It's not about Hamas. It's
okay, but I did see him say that.
He's going to give it back. He's going to take it, kill everyone, take it.
I want to be clear about what he said, though. We can all say if you don't
back.
believe it. I just want to be clear, because that's what I saw him say, is we're going to get rid of Hamas, and we're going to let the Palestinians... I just want to be clear about what he said.
to sell you.
I know, guys, but did he actually say that?
He did say,
yes,
he said he's going to give it back to
interview
people
with
who want it.
I-24
Okay,
News.
that's all I'm
Can you
asking.
Bring that up, I-24 News. I'm going to read you his exact statement.
Okay.
Okay? Because he was asked specifically, Netanyahu says he's on a historic and spiritual mission, also feels a connection to vision of greater Israel.
Okay.
This is, guys, look, I'm not hating on the Israeli government just for the sake of it, right? I saw this coming from a million miles away because I've been paying attention to what their charter says. I've been paying attention not to their statements, but to their actions. And in fact, you know, when I was interviewed on Tucker Carlson's show, I brought this up as it pertains to the only Catholic church in the Gaza Strip that got bombed. Look, Israel has the best weapons imaginable because we're the ones funding it and providing those weapons, much to my chagrin, because I don't want to be part of a genocide and war crimes. But nonetheless, Tucker asked me about that Catholic church, and this is what I had to say about it. This is weeks ago.
You can't deny the fact that that one and only Catholic church in Gaza was bombed, was attacked. You can't deny the fact that churches have been targeted in the West Bank as well. People can lie to us as much as they want, but the videos are out there.
How do you blow up a church if you've got munitions, laser-guided munitions that are so sophisticated that they can take out, a guy in an SUV from 30,000 feet? How do you blow up a church with a giant cross on top of it?
It was just an accident, Tucker. It was an accident.
It's not the first church.
No, it's not. And it wasn't an
close.
accident.
What is the answer? Can anyone get an answer?
I know the answer. Israel wants a Jewish state and they want to expand. They have something known as the Greater Israel Project. They intend to annex the whole of the West Bank. In fact, Miriam Adelson legally bribed Donald Trump to ensure that that happens. And Israel announced that that's what they're going to do, and they're doing it.
In fact, Bezalel Smotrich just yesterday announced that they're going to build like thousands of new settlements in the West Bank. The West Bank is a separate territory from Gaza. It was never governed by Hamas. So why are the Palestinian people dealing with Israeli settlers, essentially running them out of their land and their homes, building more illegal settlements? By the way, Smotrich was very clear about the reason why he wants to do that, and it's to annex the West Bank and prevent the formation of a Palestinian state. This has been the plan from the very beginning. By the way, let's just go to some more about the Greater Israel Project, because it does vary a little bit.
That's what I was trying to look at, but he didn't clarify it, I guess? I'm not, and I just want to be accurate. I totally understand everything you're saying.
Why do you think,
why
do you think Israel wanted Bashar al-Assad to fall?
Mom,
Bashar al-Assad was standing in the way of Israel being able to annex land from Syria. The second Bashar al-Assad fell, Israel goes in and they start taking territory, more territory from Syria. Why do you think we're so obsessed in America with weakening Russia's military capabilities? Because if Russia's weakened, they can't come to the defense of Iran, which Israel wants to do regime.
Let me just say
all of this
one
stuff
thing.
is connected.
I totally understand, and you can read into it all that you want, but he did say, he affirmed that Israel does not intend to occupy Gaza permanently, stating, I know, but listen, our goal is not to occupy Gaza. Our goal is to free Gaza, free it from Hamas terrorists. Now, I get it. Go ahead and say he's a liar. But the way we're making it look is my concern, is that we're saying he's like, I'm for the greater vision and everybody gone. He did not actually say it. Now, whether he does it, what his actions have indicated.
He's doing it.
Wait, let me be clear. This is the same.
I just want to make sure.
I just want to say, guys, I completely understand that. But Netanyahu is the same guy who keeps telling us that Israel did not murder any kids. Okay, so I just
you don't believe him. That's okay. Totally fine to say that. But I just want to make sure we are clear about what he actually said.
And also, I don't want us to lose sight of also another personal reason why this war is still dragging on. This guy is looking out for his own ass. He was on trial before.
The lawsuits.
And I feel like it's been buried. And his plan was successful by and large.
He is a diabolical person.
Yes,
I'll give you another example, okay? So for instance, you have Hamas and then you have the PLO. The PLO tries to work with the Israeli government, play by the rules. And what Netanyahu did to undermine the PLO and their governance is he facilitated the funding of Hamas. So Hamas would become more powerful. Here's what's also really interesting. there was intelligence that the Israeli government had a year prior to October 7th, but they decided against protecting the border with Gaza. So, for instance, this is the New York Times. This was published December of 2023. Israel knew Hamas's attack plan more than a year ago. A blueprint reviewed by the Times laid out the attack in detail. Israeli officials dismissed it as aspirational and ignored specific warnings. Then, about 2 weeks prior to Hamas's attack, they got additional intel indicating they're going to invade and they're going to take hostages. Why didn't the Israeli government prepare for that? Why did it take hours for the IDF to respond to those attacks? And then finally, now we have IDF soldiers who are being forced to testify because of the massive failure in responding to those attacks.
Yeah.
And when they're testifying, they're sharing some interesting stuff. So let's go to this tweet. One of the IDF soldiers talked about how on the morning of the attack, the soldiers were told to stand down, okay? We received orders from the Golani Brigade commanders on October 7th to cancel all patrols along the Gaza border from 5:20 a.m. until 9 a.m. So what's going on here?
Well, best case scenario, gross negligence, but it looks more like the worst case scenario, which is justification for a war.
And what,
also,
and what would
not
that
only just for a
justification
war,
lead
though.
to? More land grab, more, everything that we're seeing play out right now.
Well, I think also he was catalyzed by self-preservation. Let's look at what has happened over the course of the last year, or the course of how many years has it been right now? 2 years. He went from being booed and jeered by his own people and on the brink of like losing everything, not only him, but Sarah Netanyahu. Now he's being cheered by his whole country, his people. I think like 60% of Israelis back this guy. His plan worked.
Yeah, I mean, there was a constitutional crisis in the country because he wanted to upend the court system, the Supreme Court. And so there were mass protests. This guy, when I say diabolical, I really mean it because all he cares about, all he's obsessed with is his own power, avoiding responsibility for crimes he has committed, not just against the Palestinian people, but against his own country in trying to do unconstitutional, disgusting things to basically solidify more power for himself. And when we talk about anti-Semitism, I think it's really important to remember when people across the globe see these images of starving children, when they see people getting shot and killed by IDF soldiers at humanitarian aid hubs, that's the kind of stuff that festers and turns into anti-Semitic sentiment. And he doesn't want to take any responsibility for what he is causing across the globe.
We do need to get, because like we're running out of time, I want to get to this Epstein-Ghislaine piece too. I'm not trying to cut you off, but we have 30 minutes and a lot to cover.
I just want to say Netanyahu is responsible for, I think he's the progenitor, most prolific progenitor of anti-Semitism in recent years.
Agreed.
He just needs to go away.
He's a supervillain, literally.
Okay, hit me with what's the Epstein and Ghislaine
We're never going to get the Epstein files. There were a few leaks that came out about Trump, and I think that spooked him. There's obviously like a cover-up, and Trump is super sloppy with it as well. So for instance, okay, there was this whole thing about like, oh, we're going to have Trump's former personal lawyer, Todd Blanche, meet with Ghislaine Maxwell privately.
Right.
And oh, looky here. Ghislaine Maxwell says that Trump did nothing wrong and he's not implicated at all. And we're going to move her from a high security, terrible prison to like the Club Med of prisons.
Wait, there's something else. She gets to leave prison now.
No, that hasn't been confirmed.
But that's the proposal on the table.
That is a proposal on the table.
Gets to go
if he does that, oh my God.
Same sweetheart deal that Epstein got.
Disgusting if that happens.
That would be catastrophic.
It would be catastrophic.
Yeah, that
Hopefully
would
he's not
be,
dumb
and
enough
this
to
is,
do
by
it.
the way,
disaster.
Jillian, you were fantastic on tying this back to 2008 Alex Acosta deal. This is an identical sweetheart deal.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
I mean, what did people expect? That they would subpoena her or they would speak to her and she would throw Trump under the... I mean, obviously this was positioned in a way where if the air is cleared, then you get some type of benefit.
100%.
And while we haven't confirmed the sweetheart deal aspect, even just being moved into a lower security prison. Plus, if she actually did try to say anything, she'd be dead.
Yeah, I mean,
She'd be
I
dead.
don't doubt it.
It'd be
I
the
don't
same
doubt
way
it.
Epstein died, right?
And so,
Died.
and right
Died.
now, like, JD Vance is trying to make the Epstein files about, like, partisan quibbling. Like, oh, it's the Democrats.
Dinner with Tim Dillon.
Yeah, and it's like, you know what? For me, this is not about Republican versus Democrat. For me, it's about a very important issue. Number one, victims never getting justice.
Right.
And number two, whether or not this was all part of a blackmail operation that has led to our Congress just being useless in their foreign policy because they're being influenced by the threat of blackmail.
Well, everyone was in Israel, like literally nearly all of Congress has been
That's
in
why it's not a
Israel
partisan
in
issue for
recent
me
times.
at
What's
all.
with that?
By the way, this is totally bizarre, but I got an invitation to go to Israel on a junket because I'm an influencer.
Who invited you?
The New York, and hi, if you guys are listening, the Israeli embassy in New York. They offered to bring me and a guest, all expenses paid.
Interesting.
Yeah.
By the way, there's a bunch of MAGA influencers who have taken.
I said no, by the way.
Who have taken those trips, and they have received a lot of backlash from their audiences. If they're part of a network, the network will drop them because.
So you know this is going on. Like,
Yeah,
they invite,
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of a like PR, you know.
And some of them are denying it though, and they're saying, no, I'm actually here on my own dime. I just wanted to come to learn and understand. Well, this is a topic. It's very interesting to see the way it's all playing out. But that's crazy.
It is crazy. I
It's
still
crazy.
haven't.
Yeah.
Move on to
I wish
something
you went
lighter.
undercover.
Yeah, let's do that.
Something lighter. Something lighter. Oh, go. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm just very excited for Anna's segment.
Okay.
Yes.
As we all know, Joe Rogan famously moved to Austin. He brought many of his comedian buddies along with him, and apparently many of those same comedians are unhappy with Austin and they are leaving.
Yes. Okay. So this is something that kind of gave me something to chew on because living in Los Angeles, you know, you and I have both experienced what has happened in LA, and so I have been thinking like, if I'm so unhappy here, maybe I should move. But maybe the grass is greener, isn't so green on the other side.
It's much greener.
Right. Okay.
No.
Okay. So we're gonna
It's
weigh in on that.
so much greener.
So basically, you have all these comedians who relocated from big cities like Los Angeles and New York City to basically follow Joe Rogan to Austin, Texas, where he has the mothership. You know, he's trying to build a comedy community there. And it seems like in the beginning it was very successful. However, some of these comedians have now begun complaining publicly about all of this because they don't like some of the things in Austin, including homelessness, okay, weather, and apparently they have issues with the power grid. So, so let's actually start with one of the comedians who did move to Austin, is still there, but doesn't seem to like it, and it's Shane Gillis.
I love this dude.
I love Shane.
Yeah.
There was a storm in Texas, and I have no power.
Okay.
And I have to be gone. I've been on the road for like a week, and I was
going power grid like fucking idiots. Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
And I was gonna do laundry before I left for this trip.
Right.
But everything, I have no power for like 3 days.
Yeah.
Texas fucking blows. Dude, the second we ran
Come on.
The second we ran out of power, the house was 90 degrees.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And just bugs.
And it's June. And that will go out in August.
Bugs came in immediately. The house filled with bugs.
All right, so that was Shane Gillis. But Tim Dillon, another comedian who moved to Austin, actually decided to move back to Los Angeles. That's how unhappy he was in Austin. Here's why.
You know, everyone there was like, this is the next city.
Right.
And I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. The lake is the color of sewage.
Oh, okay.
It's a deep green sewage lake. There are homeless people. This idea that there's no homeless people there
They're there.
is a lie. They're homeless. People there. And by the way, it's like, you know, so it's like this idea that, listen, LA has problems. We all know that it has problems. But, you know, there's shootings there. There's lots of shootings. So it's not
Everyone
like...
is armed, right?
Yeah, but it's also like people get drunk. They shoot each other. It's part of the culture. It's fun.
Right.
It's fun.
Look at her face. Oh my gosh.
He also complained about the food. This is like hilarious. He was complaining about the food in Austin and says the food in LA is much better. He says there's only one sushi restaurant in Austin. I don't know if that's true. That's what he says.
There's two.
There's no
there are two.
produce. He says there's no produce.
There's Uchi, which is great, and there's the same guys that do Scratch in Los Angeles. There's at least two that are good that I know of. Because I looked at Austin to move, and I have reasons that I didn't choose Austin, and we can get into that later. But
yeah, and then he makes jokes. He's like, they put brisket in the water, you know. He wasn't happy with the scene there. So he moved back to LA. And you know what? Sometimes you kind of need to take that journey to realize what you moved away from, what you lost. In fact, like, when I think of LA, I think of its natural beauty. And I don't know if I could live anywhere else because I love the fact that you have the mountains, and if you want snow, you just travel a little bit, few hours, and you're in Big Bear, and you can enjoy the snow. I hate the snow, but you know, for people who like the snow, it's there. The beaches, like, it's naturally beautiful. It's just governed so poorly.
Isn't it so ironic that everything beautiful about California is God-made and everything that's shitty is man-made, Gavin Newsom made?
Wow. That's a very astute observation.
And city council
Lindy.
made. Our city council is a complete and utter disaster. So like, I don't want to abandon my city. I want to fight to make it better. But I will admit, it's hard because you see your quality of life dwindle year after year while you pay more and more in taxes. LA is a high tax place, obviously, and the highest tax state in the country. And when you see like your services get cut because the city and the state misuses funds and just squanders it, it's infuriating, absolutely.
On that note, actually, Blair White, who has been on this show before, I love Blair, incredible political commentator, very sharp. So she actually moved from California to Austin, and she's been out there the last couple of years. She's very tied into this. Yeah, she likes it. She's been out there a couple of years. She's very tied into this Austin community, but she's moving back to LA too. But for what you just said, she's like, I want to fix it. I want to fix California. I love it. And I do believe it can be fixed. And I think it takes more people like her, like you, of that mindset. Because if everyone...
I get to talk on this one.
Sorry,
I want you to go. Just
well,
get it out.
You're actually moving.
I moved.
My point
so
is made.
Tell me when you're ready. Okay, I left in 2021. So far, 2 of the homes that I owned in Malibu have burned. The one I sold in 2021 just burned. Fortunately, thank God, I sold that one, so I didn't have to go through it again. I owned the one, obviously, at the time that burned in 2018. I lived through all the bureaucracy and all the red tape, and it's so awful that you end up tapping out. It's a system that is designed to break you. It weaponizes red tape on purpose. And I truly now at this point believe, based on everything I've seen, it's intentional and it's a land grab. Just the fact that Gavin Newsom is putting in low-income housing, well, who does that benefit? The prospectors, the BlackRocks of the world, and I thought it was all tin hat until he's actually doing it. Now, living with that and all of that insanity, then living with the crime, and even though we got rid of Proposition 47, which is the one that overturned, it was 36.
Well, the state refuses to fund the proposition that just passed that reverses some of the damage from the earlier proposition.
Right, so it was like 36 and then 47, or it might be reversed.
47 was the initial proposition. 36 was to reverse some of those reforms that actually ended up being really, really bad for the city. The state, I should say. But anyway, long story short, Gavin Newsom was never in favor of that proposition.
No,
he refuses to fund it.
He opposed it. So you've got rampant crime, and I mean, my car was just stolen there last year when I went to visit my mom.
Oh, wow.
We literally were moving the car from Miami to Jackson, which is so we now like domicile in Jackson because it's closer to LA because my mom is still in LA. And there are still things for work that I have to go back from time to time. So it was like impossible to keep doing this cross-country commute, so on and so forth. Nevertheless, the taxes are insane. The school system sucks. And I mean, it absolutely sucks. The infrastructure is broken. The policies are bananas. And what I mean by that is I have friends that are buying killer dogs. I'm not kidding. Because there's another proposition that's just put forward, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's about standing your ground, and they might take away your right to defend yourself.
That's ridiculous.
That's
ridiculous.
It's banana. It is. The policies are bananas. And what I can tell you is I did go to Austin. And I'm an ocean baby. I like the water. And the lake was gross. It was gross. And I'm not trying to make this a red or blue thing, but to a large extent, there is a policy problem with regard to these blue cities. Austin's blue.
Yeah,
it is. Miami's not.
Yeah.
You know, Wyoming is not. So you're going from blue to blue, and that's why you're getting the crime, the homelessness, the mess, the disaster, and it was all very evident and on display. And I looked at my wife and I was like, we're not doing Austin.
Yeah.
And we did Miami, and I loved it. And I miss it so, so, so much, and the goal is down the road. If I should be so fortunate, well, to keep Jackson and then escape the Game of Thrones winters, you know, and get a little condo on the beach during those times, and then go back home to Jackson. But the point being, getting back to your desire to fix it, I don't think that's possible. I don't.
I think it is. I think it is.
You won't even run for office. So how dare you? No. How?
Jillian,
I asked you specifically.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're like, I don't want to deal with it. But then you say you're going to stay and fight for it. So I'm telling you,
well,
then
you
run
can fight
for office.
well, because
I'm not fucking fighting for
there's
it.
no
I'm
way
out.
in hell I
Forgive
would
the
ever
F-bomb.
win if I ran for anything, even if it was a city council member. It's just, I'm too controversial in my bold opinions on various issues. So, like, I just don't want to deal. I could deal with it if it only impacted me, but it's going to impact my family.
Which is why Corolla won't run, which is why all the good people won't run. So let's get back to, not only is it an exceptional uphill battle, good people don't want to take it on. So until you're willing to run for office, don't tell me you're staying in California to save it. I'll vote for you if I'll go back to California for a year.
You can make a difference without running for office.
No, you can't. No, you cannot.
The most powerful way is through Congress, no doubt. However, you can still just by using your vote.
I would wager,
for
to the
example,
point that you cannot even. There are Republicans there, and it is so gerrymandered that they have zero representation, and it's getting exponentially worse. Thanks, Kevin.
Let me
I'm not saying
present
both sides don't do that, but I'm saying there's no hope there. There's not.
Wait, you're saying that unless you're in office, you can't make a difference?
I'm saying that. You're telling me you want to stand fight for it.
Yeah.
But what it takes to fight for is an exceptional sacrifice. And people, I know,
well,
I get it.
What I'm saying is, right now, and I mentioned this before, we don't have 435.
How are you going to fight for it? How are you going to stop crime? How are you going to undo all of this disgusting policy and legislation? How are you going to do it? How are you going to implement fire mitigation if you're not in office?
What I'm saying is, right now, we don't have 435 members of Congress. We have 435 social media wannabes. They're influencers. They spend all their time trying to get on Fox News or MSNBC, depending on what party they're not doing anything useful. In fact, the good ones are all retiring because they realize they can't make a difference. So what I'm saying is you don't have to, you can agitate from the sidelines.
Doesn't work.
I mean,
would say some
activists do it all the time.
The more we agitate, the more powerful Newsom is becoming.
Could I give an example?
But the reason why we
it does not work.
The reason why we have these disastrous policies is because the people who've gotten real active are like, you know, these activist groups. They show up to every city council meeting, they protest, they cause a ruckus, and the squeaky wheel gets
the grease.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, the people who control the Republican Party right now are not the politicians.
That's
they are
so
the
true.
They are the
so
funders.
true.
They are the Miriam Adelsons, the Peter Thiels of the world. They are the oligarchs.
How are you going to undo that?
Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example.
What I mean is, they're not
Wait,
let me just be clear, though, guys. They are not the lawmakers here. They are the power behind them. They are the BlackRocks of the world. That's where the power lies, not necessarily the politicians.
They're taking back the largest economy, supposedly.
So honestly, if we want to address your point, we should become the puppet masters because that is how we actually fundamentally change
You have
society.
to be a sociopath. There's actually a great TED Talk on this. And, you know, we were talking about this with Kaizen last week's show. And he's like, you know, let's not hate this. Everybody has the potential for evil, and we do. However, you could take this TED Talk or you could leave it, and we're going to move on after this, but it's like the kind of person that wants that exceptional, excessive, insane amount of power and control is a sociopath.
Right,
Not a governor, but to literally be a globalist that controls the world.
In fact, someone did a study on politicians. They are mentally ill, just to be clear, especially the people who run for president.
Oh, I know,
the good
girl.
ones
I know, girl.
The good ones.
Well, I would actually say.
Well,
I mean, I think there's also beauty in mental disorders. Well, that's
this is different though. There's beauty and not this.
Can I just give one example before we move on? For some people who are actually doing stuff and making a difference. Have you all heard of Scott Pressler? He did a lot to flip different swing states from blue to red.
Yeah.
He is determined to spend time in California to, number one, implement voter ID. Implement voter ID. The last election was already closer than it has been in several election cycles. true, it is an uphill battle, but I do believe that people can fight from
90 degrees.
I feel you. I'm just saying, when you see, he's done it before, he could potentially, and when voices combine together,
well, I
difference
mean,
strategic
I know
can definitely get
we need to move to mankeeping.
Yes.
All right. I just want to say, Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor of California not too long ago, so he's Republican, to be clear.
All right, what is man-keeping, Lindy?
Ana Kasparian, I'm so glad you brought up this topic because this is actually courtesy of her. She brought up, this is fantastic. There was a New York Times article that came out on July 25th, and the premise of the article is basically women complaining that they have to support their partners, which I thought was just a relationship.
Right.
But now they have pathologized that into something, into some sort of burden that they have to carry, that a cross that they have to bear. For the past 30-some years that I've been alive, I thought that was just love. Honestly, I thought that was a definition of caring about somebody.
Yeah, and what the whole complaining about man-keeping leaves out of the equation is that we as women obviously want our partners to be there for us emotionally, mentally, to be supportive of us. It's a two-way street. So if you're complaining about being emotionally available for your male partner, well, then don't be surprised if you get the same treatment in return.
Amen.
It is a two-way street.
Amen. And then we dare to complain. These same people dare to complain that men don't open up enough. But, well,
that
the moment
chivalry's dead and all these things.
The moment that they open up, you shut them down and saying you're being a burden, an albatross. How dare you? I do want to say, I want to tie in. I love that.
How dare you?
Anyway, and also I want to tie it in with the T-app hack. During or after our conversation, actually something else happened. Like the news is constantly
Wait, will you tell everyone what the T-app is?
So the T-app hit #2 in the Apple Store, and the aim of the app was to allow women to warn other women of potentially toxic or dangerous men in their neighborhoods. Wow. Okay. Well, that went to shit really quickly. The app was quickly hacked. And the driver's licenses of all of these women were leaked, but that's not even the worst part.
Why are there driver's licenses?
Because they needed to verify that they're a woman when you sign up onto the app. It's a woman-only platform, and for that reason, they were able to dox all these men without any type of follow-through. None of these men were able to stand up for themselves because they couldn't even get onto the app in the first place.
But that's not even the worst part of the hack. The worst part is that the DMs got out.
Yeah.
And so everyone they were able to see what the women were saying about the men. And a lot of it, I just think it's deeply unfair that if someone has a bad date, they can say after the fact that it was not consensual. It's very dangerous territory.
That's what happened to Aziz Ansari.
Yeah, exactly. A bad date does not rape make. Let me be very clear. You do not have a right to somehow after the fact reassess what happened and say it was sexual assault. That's frankly, I think that's criminal. I think there should be penalties for filing a false police report. And
no, there should be.
But are there not?
For allegations.
Like if I accuse somebody in Europe, there actually is. If you accuse somebody of a crime they didn't commit,
filing
and it's
a false
provable,
report.
it's criminal. And then if they actually get charged with something of a penalty, it's pretty significant.
Well, I mean, like in casual conversation, if you are defaming someone, I think it's defamation to say that this guy was a predator.
Yeah, you can go after them civilly.
100%, but they couldn't because the app was closed, and that's why this is like just some form of like poetic justice. Obviously, I'm not for anyone's information getting doxxed, but that's some crazy comic retribution right there. That this app hit. I heard #1 actually in the App Store. All of these men were being disparaged, and then the women doing all of the disparaging ended up getting doxxed themselves.
I want to say one thing, and I don't usually do this, but my
wife's
friend. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I'm absolutely, completely sympathetic to the struggle most men go through. At least I think I am. I think I play that role in my family, and I totally get the whole white knight thing and being unfairly accused. However, there are a few scumbags out there.
Of course. Yeah.
And like my wife's friend had met up with a few of them. So like this one guy was actually married, lied about being married, had a girlfriend living at his apartment in Aspen, and then was running game on my wife's friend.
Oh, no.
And I kind of don't mind to be like, this guy's married. Like, I wish there was a way to say,
I think,
hey, ladies, if you meet Greg so-and-so, homeboy is married. I totally get it. I know what you're saying.
No, I think you bring up a legitimate
actually,
issue. But like, I think my problem with apps like this is that you can make all sorts of claims about someone,
You're absolutely right.
including-
and
Absolutely
they
right.
don't have an opportunity to defend themselves.
That
And we have our
is a
justice
huge
system,
problem.
right? But I think the court of public opinion is sometimes even more vicious.
You're right.
And so, like, destroying someone's reputation without giving them an opportunity to defend
Totally
themselves
right.
is an issue. Without providing evidence is an issue. And so, look, being duplicitous and like having an affair is one thing, but being accused of something as serious as rape on an app where you're not
Are they
able to,
doing that?
They absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's,
that's
what I'm
And-
bringing. That's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
that's
For sure,
But guys,
a lot
it
of
gets
false
even
accusations.
weirder from here. So there was a counter app. There was a reaction to the T app called T on Her, and I kid you not, guys. I kid you not. It was hacked.
This is so ridiculous.
Wait, this
Like-
this happened between when Anna brought it up as a topic and today. And I also kid you not, the password was password 1.
Wait, what password?
That was the photo I wanted, Connor. Yeah, exactly. It was on. It was
That was the
available.
password?
That was the password, and it was
Oh my
available
God.
for everyone to see. So all of their sensitive, private information, also
like the
driver's license.
admin login? Like
Yes.
what?
That's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
What?
It was out there. You can see like the website, the HTML. You can see that, and it was available for everyone to see. And the same thing happened to them. Like I wish I were making this up.
All right, guys. Whoa. All right. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, click, subscribe. Anna, where do we get more?
You can find me on Manect and social media, Ana Kasparian, youtube.com/The Young Turks to watch me daily.
You guys can find me on YouTube, Amy Dangerfield. I host a show called Dangerous Conversations, and you can also message me on Manect.
Hey guys, find me on Manect and Lindy Li everywhere. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.